Matharau can afford those houses. The deposit they are in, 400,000 per house, they cannot afford. So what dignity are we talking about here? Who are we dignifying? Mr. Speaker, when we speak about accessibility, we are only constructing these houses in the urban areas. How accessible are these houses going to be to the people who live in the extreme corner of my constituency, for example, the people who live in Madhaja village in Githega constituency of Githunguri County, sub-county? If we actually do the houses in Githunguri town, for example, how accessible are we going to align ourselves within the constitution? Because this is the spirit of the constitution. That is why I am opposing this bill. Actually, this bill, according to me, should not be called the Affordable Housing Bill 2023. It should actually, if we really are serious, we should call it the Affordable and Social Housing Bill 2023. And the social means accommodating those people living in the nylon papers houses, like I have explained, because that is the spirit of the Constitution. So I am happy because I have put in amendments. I hope those amendments are going to be considered on the floor of this House so that my contributions and my thoughts and other people's thoughts who are thinking like I am thinking can be put in place. Mr. Speaker, when I speak about affordability, I do not think that the concept of stone and cement is what is affordable to my voters. I do not think that the concept of cement and stones and concrete is what is affordable to somebody in Turkana. Why can't we then, if you are calling them affordable, use the most affordable materials that are available in the villages? Why must you force me to adopt your concept of concrete and stones and cement, and that is not affordable to me? That is affordable to you because of your income levels. It is not affordable to me. To the people of Turkana, who are used to making their houses using, wood cut from the trees and the cow dung to smear the houses and look beautiful, to them, that is what they can afford in their backyard. Why are you going to introduce the concrete and stones in Turkana, and they are not affordable there? By the way, stones and cements are only affordable in Nairobi and Kiambu County, where we have quarries. You go to the coastal part of region, in the coast region, there are no stones. Why are they designing for houses to use stones from Darugo quarries in Kiambu County? And trucks have to come leave Vika or Roiro to go all the way to deliver stones in Kware County, for example. Isn't it this a business model for some people? So that is why I am opposing this bill. I have put my amendments on the floor. I hope they are going to be considered.
One minute, Honorable Muchombo. What's out of order, Honorable? Bye.
Honorable Speaker, I rise to a point of order on misinformation, because the coast region is known for the coral stone. And a lot of the houses in the coast are actually built on stone, coral stone. That's one of the most precious stones that is used for building. To say that the people of the coast actually enjoy staying in mud houses, they don't have building materials. We have. My constituency is a place called Tezo. Mombasa has been built by the stones from Tezo. It is a quarrying area. Better stones than those are thicker. Kwale itself has one of the best coral reef with the best coral stones. So if you what's out of order? Is a very well-informed person, but she should not distort facts. Okay. She should not distort facts and misinform people. We have very good building stones, and our houses, almost every house in Kilifi now is built.
Thank you, Honorable Baya. I think the honorable member is.
Mr. Speaker, I think the Honorable, my friend, wanted to inform me, but he did not request me for permission to be informed, because I don't think I was out of order. So next time, don't misuse the standing orders. Mr. Speaker, as I conclude, allow me to address the issue of land. I still would want to understand that this bill, because I've read it, it has not addressed how the government of Kenya is taking up public land. The legal framework around taking over pieces of land in our backyards is something that's still not addressed by this bill. No wonder I am not supporting it. You cannot come to my county and my sub-county and purport to take over public land to construct houses, land that was alienated for some project that serves the community. For example, in Githongori constituency, there is a proposal to take up land that was supposed to be used for our Mau Mau veteran memorial activities and cultural activities. And there is a lot of coercion happening so that that community can lose that land to affordable housing. I still feel this is not right. There is no right.
No. Allow her 30 seconds to finalize.
Thank you. Thank you for your consideration, Mr. Speaker. I still feel that there is no right inclusion of the legal approach on how the government, through this affordable social housing bill, is going to take over land that is supposed to be community land. And therefore, I oppose this bill, and I have put my amendment to see whether my concerns and the concerns of the people I represent have been captured in this bill. Thank you.
Minority Whip.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise to oppose this bill. And Honorable Speaker, right from the onset, it is important to say two wrongs don't make a right. And Honorable Speaker, the member for Kwanza was saying that we should try and improve on this bill. But there's no way to improve on something that is already flawed. Honorable Speaker, there is an issue of framework that was raised by the courts. I submit to you, Honorable Speaker, that we still have an insufficient framework in this housing bill. And allow me to demonstrate, Honorable Speaker. We have different forms of taxes and levies collected by the government. We have PAYE, we have NHIF, you have NSSF. Honorable Speaker, NHIF, there is a direct benefit to the person who pays that levy. The same thing with NSSF. You benefit from it. With PAYE and all income taxes is what we benefit from. We have teachers in schools. We have NGCDF whenever they decide to remit it, that goes down there to benefit. We have roads that are done. This is how we benefit directly from this PAYE. So how will this housing levy benefit the person who is actually paying this levy? If you don't change this issue, and I'm glad the chair is still here for housing, because we've had a side chat with him, and I respect the member for Murua Dikir, that I submit to him that this makes it will be another challenge for this bill, and when we go to court of law, they will set it aside. Why? Because you've not shown, you've levied a tax, but you're not showing how we are going to benefit. Honorable Speaker, there is the issue of, and allow me to speak of Embakasi West and Nairobi. And the leader of majority, and I don't know, he stepped out, he's asked us, the members of parliament, we should write and indicate the land where we're supposed to construct these houses. Honorable Speaker, I have a school with 4,000 students, 182 students in one classroom. I'm looking for land to build a new school. How will I convince the residents of that ward that I can set aside land to build houses that will be privately owned? And yet, in that entire ward, I've only got one public school. And this is the case all over Nairobi. We have an issue where we've built affordable housing, especially in Eastlands, Honorable Speaker. I'll be honest, we have slums where we have rentals going for 500. We have houses going for 1,000, 2,000 in Dandora, 3, 4, and as you accelerate all the way, you get to Buruburu, where you can afford to pay a house of 50,000, depending with your strength. Honorable Speaker, those are the affordable houses that we have in our constituencies. And what we need, Honorable Speaker, we need titles. We've built houses, we need them regularized. You cannot tell us to now come and build new houses. We have houses in Nairobi. We've built them already. Regularize them. Those are our affordable houses. We are okay. We don't need any more. We don't need any more. Those are sufficient for us. And let us remember, Honorable Speaker, the majority of those who are being paid salaries are here in Nairobi, Honorable Speaker. And if you look at the number of even houses being built here in Nairobi, it's unfair. So how will you convince all these people where 60% of the GDP is here in Nairobi, and you're not even giving us that equivalent here in Nairobi? So we have a huge issue with that one. Honorable Speaker, let me remind my colleagues across the side, and I'm happy, Honorable Mbadi, because he might remind me. President Kibaki built houses in this Nairobi. He didn't impose a levy. They're here in Langata. President Uhuru built houses in Starehe. I wish the member of Starehe was here. They're here in Pangani. No levies were imposed. So it's not something new, and that's why as Azimio, we were willing to support. We had this in our manifesto because we knew we could do it without asking for any extra money. So, Honorable Speaker, I want to speak also about my constituency. Some of the areas you've been pointing out where you want to demolish slums and build them. We've had uprisings and all sorts of mandamano going on in Nairobi because nobody wants their houses to be demolished. So we submit to you that we do have a form of affordable housing. It might not be the best, but it's what Kenyans can afford right now. And finally, Honorable Speaker, because I will have quite a number of amendments that I will bring in a bit later on. Honorable Speaker, let me caution, based on how this criteria has been put here. Honorable Speaker, before I became a member of Parliament, when I was an advocate, trying out, then I was earning a salary of 20,000. I had the opportunity, Honorable Speaker, to apply for an affordable housing scheme that is here at Nyayo Estate. Honorable Speaker, if there is a place where there was a lot of corruption and you needed to know somebody, was that scheme. That is how you've exposed us in this new bill. And I want to urge you, and I'm saying the Honorable Owen Bai is really paying attention. I urge you to go to Nyayo Estate. Those affordable houses, as they were considered then, because about 700,000-800,000. See the people who own them. It is the wealthy people during that regime who own those houses there. They own 10, 15 houses. People who are cabinet secretaries, PSs, members of parliament, those are the people who ended up owning those houses there. The way this bill is crafted, Honorable Speaker, the criteria that it is a simple ID, it is so subjective. It means somebody somewhere will choose and determine who is to get a house. And that is it. It doesn't matter what you contributed, what you gave out. All that will not be considered. This might boil down to the tribe, skin of your color, the depth of your pocket, who you voted for, party, share ownership. All that kind of nonsense is what will be considered. And they will ignore the fundamental issue of what we as Azimio wanted to sort out by creating affordable housing at a low cost without adding a single shilling to the taxpayer. So I'm going to urge the chair of the committee, because we will have a bigger discussion during the third reading. Allow us to amend this bill, as your colleague from Kenya Kwanza, Honorable Fadila Wanyonyi said, and allow us to even delete each and every single clause here and redraft this bill afresh. And we do have the strategy. We do have the plan. Allow this issue to be a bipartisan issue where we can give you a better bill without adding a single shilling, a single tax to Kenyans out there. So, Honorable Speaker, in this current form, I apologize, I've not had a chance to look at the report of the committee because it came out at night And I'm hoping some of these issues, we're going to look at them in depth. But Honorable Speaker, the way it is, I'm sorry, but I cannot support this bill in its current form. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Nyikal.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving the opportunity to discuss this. Mr. Speaker, I rise to oppose this bill because it is actually flawed. Mr. Speaker, this bill, the objective is to provide for affordable housing, to put a levy, and to give a framework. It does none of those, absolutely none. Throughout the bill, there's been no indication on how these houses are going to be affordable, meaning it's cheaper than other houses in the market. You actually pay, you don't know you are going to get, and then you put a deposit of 10%, then you are given a house, and then you pay back the loan. That is standard. What is different from that? What is going to change them? And now you go and look at even what we call the frameworks. Just start with the definition. Affordable housing, not more than 30% of your income per month. We start to put figures. How are you going to actually ensure that it is not more than 30%? And then you go down, and the affordable houses are actually three types. Social housing unit for people whose income are below 20,000. Affordable housing unit, which is between 20,000 and 100,000. Affordable market housing, which is over 100,000. When you say that, and you have put 30%, you have already actually said what that house is going to, the rent is going to be. In the market, is it really possible to have a law which is saying exactly what you are going to pay? I don't see how that will work out. So you have put a percentage, you have actually put what the income is, you've put it, that gives you the cost of the house. Can you really fix that? That is what has given us a problem for 10 years when we put a number, 2/3 gender rule. It's a number, and we are trying to get to reach it politically. We are doing the same thing with this bill. That is just not going to work. Then you go to the levy. We started by saying it was for employed people only. But of course, that is what the court didn't like, and then the court brought us back, and now we say people who are other incomes. But if you look very carefully at clause 4, 2B, clause 4A says the gross salary of an employee. That's okay. That is practical. That can be done. But when we say the gross income of a person received or accrued, which is not subject to the levy under paragraph A, that actually has two meanings. It may mean that for a person who is not salaried, that is what it may mean. But it may also mean that even if you are salaried and you have paid and you still have another income, that income will still be subject to that. Is that exactly what we mean in this bill? So that itself is we have a problem with that. Then, when you have got that, and you then come to the allocation of this, you actually already have said who is going to do this in actually clause 6. So you say 30% is going to National Housing Corporation, 30% is going to Kenya Slum Upgrading, low income this, 30%, and then 30% going to that. Now, you have a board for that. You have a board for this fund. But you have also distributed this fund to other institutions. These other institutions, if you go to clause 12 where there's a board, how is this board going to actually manage funds that are actually in other institutions which have their own boards? So that is defective. You can't set up a board. You say what the board is going to do. You say the functions of the board, and then the money that you are distributing to other institutions that have their own boards. So that is actually technically defective. If you come to eligibility, Mr. Speaker, okay, it says Kenya and over 18, and then you have to have proof of availability of deposit, which is 10% of the value. And then after that, you will apply, and if you are the agency, again, you have gone to the agencies, you apply to the agencies if you have a deposit of 10%. Now, if you are talking of affordable houses, and the other people who are not salaried, even the people who are salaried, if you're talking of Mamamboga, if these are the people you are talking about, the hustlers, and you said they need a deposit of 10%, already they are paying, and you've told them, and the leader majority was saying that when they went out, people were very keen that we are even going to do it voluntarily. What they mean, if you didn't get that, is that they think that if they pay this, they are definitely going to get a house. I don't think people realize that you can pay this for years and you may never get a house. So if again now they are going to pay this 10%, and they have been paying that, and it is just, they are just going to pay back, that is difficult. And again you realize when you go to clause 38, you find that an eligible person may actually not be able to raise 10%. Then you say...
There's a point of order by the Majority Leader. It better be a point of order, Majority Leader.
Honorable Speaker, you know the Honorable Nyekal has invited me by referring to what I said in relation to public participation. But clearly, the Honorable Nyekal has not read what came out of that public participation in the committee's report, because all the issues he's speaking to, from eligibility, there are proposed amendments by the committee, including the question he's raising of 10% deposits, are things that are very well articulated in the committee's report if you go through it. Therefore, kindly, probably he would take some time off and read so that he understands where I was coming from when I said what I said of public participation.
You see, that is exactly, actually that's exactly my point. You have actually reminded me of another point why I actually reject this bill at this point. When the leader of majority was moving, even the second when they were moving, they did not discuss the bill. They were discussing the report, which means that to a large extent, without that report, this bill cannot pass. It makes it possible that by the time we go to amendments, there will be so many amendments that we may, just leader of majority, there may be so many amendments that we may actually think that this bill should be drafted again. So, Mr. Speaker,
order, the Honorable Nyekal. It's Majority Leader. Order. The report is a report of the bill. So the report can't stand over the bill. The report is a report of the bill, and so I believe that the bill, the report informed the debate on the bill. So I don't want us to waste time on this. I would allow you to continue the debate.
Yes, I will.
Don't get distracted.
No, and I have actually even looked at the report. Even the format of the report, even we're saying that we look at the report. First of all, it came late. We haven't had time to read it. But even when I've looked at it, you do not, as you normally would have in a report of this nature, a clear schedule of what amendments are proposed. What we have in this report is actually almost verbatim report. This is what they said. This is what the observation of the committee. So you don't actually, when you read the report, you don't clearly get it ends on page 190, and the only recommendation, committee recommendation, the committee having tendered the bill and the submissions from the members, the public and stakeholders, recommends that the House approve the bill with the amendments. Now, they are not, this is the report. So this is actually technically defective. So, Mr. Speaker, then we realize, as we said, that people may not afford. We then bring that in clause 10, that a loan can also be made available. Now look at this bill. there is money you are paying. Then now you also want to take a loan, and you can also make a saving in the same. What structure shall we have for this fund? So the idea.
Allow him 20 seconds to finish.
You see, I have the soft copy.
We then move to Jomvu.
You can't see.
We move to Jomvu.
Jomvu nitaongea hakuna shida. Haya, asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipatia nafasi hii ili kuweza na mimi kuchangia katika hili jambo. Mheshimiwa Spika, kwanza katika katiba yetu ya Kenya imeruhusu kuwa na haki ya makao. Alafu vile vile sisi kama Azimio pia ilikuwa ni moja ya ajenda yetu ambayo ilikuwa ni haki kwa watu waweze kupata makao. Kwa hivyo nikizungumza kama vile minority leader wetu Mheshimiwa Ndai alivyosema, haoni ni kwa nini pia mimi naunga mkono kwa nini ilikuwa tuende haraka kwenye jambo hili. Kwa shauri Mheshimiwa Spika, jambo hili si kwa kuwa ni baya. Liko katika katiba, liko katika ajenda yetu, na hivi sasa limeletwa ni sawa, lakini namna vile ambavyo limeletwa ndilo ambalo mpaka iangaliwe. Kwa mfano Mheshimiwa Spika, leo hii kule kwangu Mombasa kuna mahali ambapo mpango huu ulifanywa, hata rais akaja hapo. Leo mpango ule ulifanywa mahali kunaitwa Buxton. Buxton nyumba zilivunjwa na kulikuwa kuna watu wanaishi hapo. Mheshimiwa Spika, vile vile kukavunjwa nyumba kwa Mheshimiwa Mishi Likoni. Na juzi kwa masikitiko makubwa ya mzee wetu Omar Mwinyi alifiliwa na bibi yake ndani ya wiki mbili akiwa anaomboleza, buldoza ya vunja nyumba za Changamwe za watu wake. Tukalani kitendo kile sana. Kwa hivyo Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi nataka kusema ndugu yangu Owen Baya ambaye yuko hapa yajua Mombasa vizuri. Kuna sehemu kama nilivyosema mwanzo kwa mpango huu haukuwa mbaya, lakini njia inavyofanywa ndio mbaya. Leo kwa nini kuvunjwa nyumba Pakistani? Kwa nini kuvunjwa nyumba Likoni? Kwa nini kuvunjwa nyumba Changamwe? Hali ya kuwa Jomvu kuna area kubwa ya serikali ambayo zamani ilikuwa ikitumiwa kama holding ground ya veterinary, ambapo nyumba zile zingekwenda jenga bila kusumbua watu. Ndugu yetu ama dadangu Irene Mayaka amezungumza hapa. Kwa nini serikali haikuweza kusimama?
The Honorable Badi.
Yes.
Do you want to be informed by the Honorable Minority Leader?
Huh?
Do you want to be informed by the Minority Leader?
Absolutely.
1 minute.
Mheshimiwa Wandaya ni inform kwa mara zote.
1 minute.
Yeye ni kiongozi bwana. Asante.
Nilikuwa nataka tu
kwa ruhusa nimempa anieleze.
Nilikuwa nataka tu kueleza rafiki yangu Mheshimiwa Badi Twalib Fula Ngenge, mbunge wa Jomvu, ya kwamba nyumba mingi imebomolewa hata kule Kakamega County, katika constituency ya Lurambi, katika estate ya Milimani. Vile vile nyumba zimebomolewa katika kijiji cha Msambweni katika Voi constituency. Mimi mwenyewe nilikuwa na nafasi ya kufika mahala hapo. How do you call it? Mahala hapo. Na nikajionea mimi mwenyewe wananchi wakihangaika, wananchi wakifurishwa wakitolewa kwa nyumba zao. Hata hii ya Changamwe mimi mwenyewe nilizuru mahala hapo.
I believe
na kiongozi wangu Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga. Na nikasikitika sana.
I believe he's informed by now.
Nikasikitika sana.
Asante sana. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Yes. Order. Niongezee, mtachukua time yangu jamaa.
The majority whip and majority leader. You listen to body.
Mtachukua muda wangu sana. Nasema katika haya ambao mimi nasema nilisikitika sana kwa sababu Jomvu na Changamwe ni kama mjomba na shangazi. Maeneo bunge yamepakana. Katika mpango huu Mheshimiwa Spika, Mheshimiwa Omar Mwinyi ambaye ni mjumbe wa hapo leo akiwa yuko katika maombolezi, watu wake wanakwenda wanavunjiwa. Mheshimiwa Spika, jambo hilo alikuwa sawa. Lakini mimi nikiwa mjumbe wa Jomvu nataka kusema kitendo kile tulikilani kwa sababu si cha ubinadamu, hata kama alikuwa anataka kufanya jambo lolote. Kwa hivyo leo mimi imani yangu inanituma wale ambao walikuwa wakiishi kwenye nyumba hizo, ilikuwa badala ya kuwa wapangaji wakatiwe pesa polepole ili wawe wamiliki baadaye, kuliko kuvunjia watu katika sehemu ambazo pia zina shauku. Pakistani leo nyumba zimvunjwa, alafu akuta mwenye kufanya kazi, si ajabu pengine alichukua karatasi title deed ya pale ambao hakununua, akapeleka benki akapata pesa na akaja akajenga manyumba yale. Mahali kwingine pia ni hivyo hivyo. Leo mimi nauliza pia Mheshimiwa Spika, 1.5% ama 1.5 kwa 100 ambayo watu wanakatiwa na waajiri. Watu wamekatiwa, hata wafanyikazi wangu mimi ofisini walikatiwa. Na leo nataka kusema kitu kimoja. Mheshimiwa Njendi pale amesema ati wakichelewa kidogo wanaambiwa wanapakatiwa 3%. Mimi nachukua sauti yangu leo. Mheshimiwa Spika, mara ya kwanza hii levy ilipokuwa imposed ama kuanzishwa, ofisi yangu ilikuwa haina operation cash. Wafanyikazi wangu walikuja mimi ni wakopeshe pesa housing levy. Ikiwa wao wafanya kazi na hali imekuwa ni vile, je, wale wengine ambao hawafanyi kazi, Mheshimiwa Spika, itakuwa katika hali gani? Kwa hivyo hali hii ni lazima iangaliwe, kwa sababu leo watu wanaambiwa wakatiwe pesa hizi, wanaambiwa tu kwa pamoja, ama kwa kizungu tunasema anakuwa generalized. Lakini Mheshimiwa Spika, anayekatiwa yuko mmoja ambaye hana loan na anayekatiwa yuko mwingine ana loan. Ana mzigo mkubwa. Hatuangalie mzigo huo leo nao anaukabili vipi, na sisi tunakwenda tunamkata hizo pesa. Maoni yangu ama mapendekezo yangu ni kwa kuwa pesa hizi ziwe ni kwa mwenye kutaka, ama kwa kizungu optional. Kwa sababu hivi inavyoendelea kuna uwezekano wa watu wengine kukatwa wakapata nyumba, na watu wengine wakakatwa ikawa ni wengine kupanda kwenye migongo ya wengine kufaidi, na hali wengine wakati wao hawataweza kufaidi. Leo tuangalie, kunaambiwa hapa moja ya sheria mpaka uwe Mkenya. Dada yetu Erin Mayaka hapa anauliza swali moja. Yule anayetoka kutoka mashambani kabisa aje Pangani pale, ama aje Pakistani pale, ama ende pengine popote aseme mimi pia ni Mkenya nataka. Confusion hiyo ama mkengeuko huo ni wa aina gani? Aliyoko pale aachwe apewe mwingine. Kwa hivyo ina maana pia hata yule ambaye yuko mbali kitambo afikiwe, atakuwa shakufa, mwanawe na yeye anakatwa, amfika mjukuu wake akatwa, ndio watu wafikirie sasa. Mimi nataka kusema tuna mzigo mkubwa ambao ulikuwa mwanzo tu uangalie kabla kuangalia haya. Na mzigo huo tuna deni la SGR, tuna deni la expressway, tuna madeni kadha wa kadha ambao tuko nayo hapa ya Dongo Kundu. Leo Dongo Kundu, Mheshimiwa Kimani Ichung'wah majority leader yuko hapa. na alikuwa chamani wangu wa budget. Leo mimi niko katika kamati ya barabara, twadaiwa bilioni 1 na kampuni inaitwa Fujita ambayo imejenga Dongo Kundu. Kwa nini 63 bilioni ambazo tumechukua kwa mambo ya housing levy ambao hatujui itajenga nyumba gani wala nyumba gani, isiende mwanzo kulipa madeni ndio kisha wakaenda kuangalia yale mambo mengine watafanya namna gani? Na yaonekana mheshimiwa nichunge ama ni protect Kimani Chungwa nirushia maneno pale hivi na
Bwana Badi atamaliza mchango wake. Ningependa aimalize. Aya, tumpe basi kiongozi ya walio wengi dakika moja pia.
Unajua Mheshimiwa Spika, Mheshimiwa Badi Twalib asema ya kuwa tuna bilioni 63 ambazo hazijulikani zitajenga manyumba wapi. Mbona tusitumie hizo fedha kulipa madeni ya pending bills ya Fujita contractor ambaye anajenga barabara kwa eneo bunge lake huko Dongo Kundu? Lakini Mheshimiwa Badi Twalib ndiye alipitisha sheria hapa ya kusema kuwa hizi fedha za housing levy haziwezi tumika kwa mahitaji mengine yoyote, hata kulipa madeni, ila tu kazi ya ujenzi wa manyumba na mambo ambayo yanaambatana na ujenzi wa manyumba. Kwa hivyo Mheshimiwa Badi asifanye Wakenya waamini ya kuwa mimi ndiye nimekataza ujenzi wa ama Fujita kulipwa. Na sijui ako na mambo gani na huyu Fujita. Pia kufuatia kanuni zetu, kanuni ya 90, atuambie amjuaje huyu Fujita. Mbona Fujita tu ndiye anamtetea alipwe?
Asante. Ningependa pia kuuliza kwamba unaweza ongea na Bwana Opiyo Wandayi atakwambia pending bills nini kwa Kiswahili. Uko na dakika 20 kumaliza mchango wako.
Mheshimiwa Spika, naomba kando na nafasi uniongezee dakika kidogo ambazo zimechukuliwa pia kwa kuwa nimetatizwa kidogo.
Uko na sekunde 30 kumaliza mchango wako.
Sawa. Sasa mimi nataka kusema kwanza sina interest ama jambo yoyote kati ya maneno yangu na Fujita. Hiyo ni maneno nimesema kwa sababu ndio hali ilivyo. Na nikiwa mwanakamati wa uchukuzi najua ni wapi tudaiwa, najua ni wapi hatujamaliza kazi, najua ni wapi hatujaweza kuendelea mbele. Mheshimiwa Spika, yatakikana kununua nyumba hizi utoe 10%. Ina maana kama ni milioni 5 uwe na 500,000 ambazo utatoa. Leo mama mboga na bodaboda 500,000 atoa wapi? Leo kitu kimoja ambacho mimi nataka kusema, hii naona ni ufisadi unakuja. Kwa ajili 500,000 mbunge milioni 5 kwake ni mswaki. Kwa hivyo 500,000 mbunge za kuchukua pesa akaenda kuweka deposit ya nyumba 10 kwa...
Katika hali hiyo ya Kiswahili twende Likoni. Twende Likoni tusikie. Tubaki kwa Kiswahili bado. Bwana Mugabe tunakuja kwako. Kiswahili bado kitawale kidogo. Muda wako inkwisha. Wakati huu ni wa Likoni.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to say from the onset, the issue of affordable housing is a noble initiative because our constitution talks about the right to shelter.
Lakini sasa mbona unaangusha? Nilifikiria tulikuwa pale Kiswahili bado.
Hai, basi ikiwa Speaker umetaka niongee Kiswahili, wacha nirudi kwa Kiswahili, lakini leo nilitaka kuongea Kiingereza.
Can use any language. Use any language.
Sasa Honorable Speaker, lazima time yangu iregeshwe vile ilivyokuwa. Maana naona nimepata some interruptions nyingi sana. Mheshimiwa Speaker, nataka niseme from the beginning, the issue of housing is a noble initiative because the constitutions talk about the right to shelter for Kenyans. But I want to say this idea was recklessly rushed. And that is why you see during the public participation, majority of Kenyans objected on this idea of paying housing levy. And again, that is why we had some negative ruling from our courts. I want to say, Honorable Speaker, if today I may ask whether we have a proper legal framework to ensure that there is proper accountability, transparency, and even the management of the housing levy. Because here we are talking about a big fund, a fund which needs to be monitored, a fund which needs a proper mechanism to ensure that there is proper oversight. And to me, I think we are not ready for that, and we don't have that right now. Honorable Speaker, in the bill I've seen that the CS is going to be given extra power to give some exemption to maybe to some persons or categories of persons, the way it's been written in the bill. So my question is, where is that detail to show who are these persons or categories of person? Are we not leaving a loophole for the CS maybe to abuse his power so that maybe he can give his friends, his cronies, just in the pretext that it is in the clause that he can do some exemption? Honorable Speaker, I'm just looking on those people who are almost retiring. Maybe they have 2 or 5 years to retire, and they have done their contribution. And yet when they retire, it means they're not going to be able to contribute. What will happen to their contribution, or are they going to be eligible to be given the houses or not? That is another question. Honorable Speaker, I'm also looking, how are we going to identify the beneficiaries, those people who are going to be given those units? And I'm saying this because one of the members here has just said, maybe we could have thought and maybe put up a cluster or target of persons, maybe those in the slums or those living under abject poverty. That could be another way of ensuring that those given those units are the right beneficiaries, rather than just living like that. And then some cartels will take advantage that they have godfathers, they have godmothers, they know who is who in that docket, and maybe they get the houses, they buy them, and then they resell it at a higher price to Kenyans. Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I'm also thinking right now, that project has only kicked in few counties, and more so in only urban areas. So we are asking ourselves, what about the rural folk? Are they not Kenyans? Are they not going to be the beneficiaries? Because to me, only those within that counties where the projects have kicked are going to be the beneficiaries of this housing, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speakers, as a Kenyans, I'm just looking, for instance, in the long run, we keep on paying the levy, and someone just feels that, now I've paid so much, and I've not been given that house. Is there a mechanism where we can submit our complaints, we can put our appeals, so that we can get those houses, or we can be given back our monies, which you have paid through the housing levy, Honorable Speaker? Honorable Speaker, I'm feeling sick just to see how Kenyans are being evicted in a humane way. For instance, the Voi issue, more than 3,000 Kenyans were left in the cold just because land was needed for the housing project. Also in Changamwe, you saw what happened, because all of you saw in the television what happened in Changamwe, in Kakamega, and other parts in this country. So for me, I'm just asking, in that position that we want to empower Kenyans to have shelter, and yet again, we are destroying those shelters where Kenyans use their monies, they struggle, they take some mortgages, they took some loans to ensure that they had shelters for their families. Honorable Speaker, I think we need to go back in the drawing board and see how are we going to ensure this issue of affordable housing in a way that we are not hurting many Kenyans right now, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to say here, many days ago when we used to have municipality which now are the counties, they used to build affordable houses, and yet there was no housing levy. And people used to buy those, and they were so good installment schemes, whereby maybe you pay every month, you pay a little amount, and after a certain period of time, you get that house and you get the ownership of that home. Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to say here as Kenyans, we need to debate this issue in a sober manner. so that all of us, we are going to be winners. We should have a winning situation. Yes, we need affordable housing for our Kenyans who live in the slums, who don't have shelters. And you know, it is not right for a developing country like Kenya that we still don't have such a project. But here today, we cannot do it in a way that we are putting Kenyans in a tightrope. Today, so many Kenyans have taken mortgage. Many Kenyans' house is not a priority. They want to take their children to university, to colleges. Maybe they want to open up a business empire so that they can have income generating activity to have some fund. Because today, when we keep on putting taxation and taxes to Kenyans, it's not that we are empowering our country in terms of economic, because today, how many companies have closed today in this country just because of the issue of taxation? How many companies have sacked so many Kenyans because of the issue of taxation? So anytime we come with a noble idea, let us see what will be the legal framework, what will be the framework which is going to be employed so that it is a win situation to the government and to Kenyans. And again, the issue of land. We all know the categories of land. We have the national land and we have also land which are vested under the county government. In terms of the issue of land, tomorrow somebody is going to say, this was a community land, this is a public land. How has it changed to be a private land after somebody has been given a unity of a home? So there are so many other issues in terms of the legal perspective, which we need to address them before we agree that we want to ensure that Kenyans have shelters in this country. Honorable Speaker, I'm also looking at the 2% money for administration. And to me as a lay person, that is big money, because we are talking about big billions of money in the housing levy funds. And now you are taking 2% for administration. And you know, administration is only some few operations. So to me, I'm just like, where will be the surplus money going to be channeled? Where are we going to take that surplus money? Because if we just leave it, there will be some cartels. And tomorrow, it will be a scandal after scandal because of that money. So before we agree in taking up and kicking up this project, or maybe passing this bill, let us have a bipartisan approach so that we can discuss, we can talk, and we can know the right way to take this matter so that Kenyans are not annoyed with us. Because today, you go to so many employees, those in the formal sectors, and look on their salary, it is zero. They don't have anything because everything has been deducted. There are so many deductions that most of Kenyans are getting depression now. Mental illness is rampant in this country. And you're asking why? It is because people are not believing what they're seeing. You are working a lot, but more than 60% goes to the government. And then you're asking yourself, where am I taking to my family? What do I have as a result or as a balance from my salary, which I'm taking to my family? So, Honorable Speaker, I want to say, when we have good ideas, let us first talk, discuss it thoroughly, and get ways of ensuring that anytime we want to do something which is good and which is going to take this country to another level, without having so many rejection and negativity, let us talk and let us get the better way of ensuring that we have our noble ideas being employed. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Member for Gembe South.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Angela, what's out of order?
Mr. Speaker. Yes, there is no quorum. There is no quorum.
I'll order that the quorum bell be rung for...
Mbona hawanipi niongee? Utakaa hapa mpaka saa ngapi? Wewe acha yako hiyo. There is no quorum.
What do you do? I order that the quorum bell be rung for 10 minutes. Honorable members, let's proceed. Order. Sometimes I think we do things. I gave 6 members from this side in a row. 6. Without giving this side even a single person. 6. Without giving anybody this side. So I think let's be fair to all of us. So, so this, I order the bell. I order the bell to stop. I order the bell to stop so we can proceed. The honorable member for Igembe South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I stand to support this bill. Honorable Speaker, I think once this project keep being postponed, Mr. Speaker, we will not develop this country. Bearing in mind that, Speaker, this is the third world country and a developing one, Mr. Speaker. So we should support this bill so that most of the Kenyans, Mr. Speaker, who are in need of jobs can be able to get jobs in the construction site, Mr. Speaker. Artisans and even mansion, Mr. Speaker, they will be privileged to get jobs within these constructions which are taking place across the country, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I commend the committee for the public participation which they conducted across the country, one of its own, Mr. Speaker, because there was a claim that there was no enough public participation which was conducted, but this is one of the public participation which informs this bill or the support of this bill, Mr. Speaker, because most of the Kenyans who participated in this public participation, they proposed, Mr. Speaker, that there is a need of us passing this bill and the construction of these houses, Mr. Speaker, to continue. Because, Mr. Speaker, for example, here in Nairobi, we have very many slums. And these slums, Mr. Speaker, there is a need for them to be improved. And when you listen to the people from these, from those areas or from the slums, Mr. Speaker, they are all in agreement that these affordable housing projects which are taking place in this country, Mr. Speaker, they are in agreement the project to continue. So, Mr. Speaker, I do not see any need of opposing this bill, since the Kenyans themselves, Mr. Speaker, they are in agreement of this bill being implemented. I think the only worry of the Kenyans, Mr. Speaker, is whether the levy which is being charged from them, if it will be utilized well. And I think that is one of the reasons why this bill is here to ratify some of the law which was left hanging, Mr. Speaker, where the Kenyans were worried about the money which they are contributing. So, Mr. Speaker, I support this bill, and I urge also other members, Mr. Speaker, to support it. And maybe if there is anything to enrich this bill from our colleagues, also they can contribute so that at least we can enrich this bill and pass it so that Kenyans can benefit from this construction of houses. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Member for Marakwet West.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to contribute on this very important bill. Honorable Speaker, I rise to support this bill. Honorable Speaker, for the reason that we are actualizing Article 43 of the Constitution on access to housing. Honorable Speaker, but the question we need to ask ourselves, how did we find ourselves that the court injuncted the affordable housing program for the reason that there was no proper legislation before the House? Honorable Speaker, when this matter was brought before the House, I raised a fundamental issue that there was no legal framework governing this particular affordable housing program. And Honorable Speaker, one of the fundamental issues that we must ask ourselves as members of this House is that party loyalty sometimes must not compromise oversight of members of Parliament. So that, Honorable Speaker, any bill that comes or any program that comes to the House, we must rise up as members of Parliament, as members of this House, and ask ourselves whether that particular program is anchored in a proper legislation. Honorable Speaker, we need not make a mistake in the future, because it is an embarrassment of monumental proportions if government programs are injuncted by the courts for lack of a proper legal and institutional framework. Honorable Speaker, there is someone failing government. There is someone failing government. How come we have a law, we have a program in this House that does not have a proper legal framework? Honorable Speaker, I raised here, so that we avoid this issue in the future. We have an Attorney General in this country who is the chief principal legal advisor of the government. The other day, he was saying he was not aware, he was never consulted. Honorable Speaker, that is shameful. It should never happen. Any law, any government program that comes before this House must be properly anchored in law. And we will stand up and we will tell the government the truth that there is a problem here. Like this, the issue of the housing program, we will not blame the president. The president had very good intentions, but a few people misadvised the House and brought a program that had no proper legal anchorage. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Member for Likuyani.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I know you've asked me to summarize my 10-minute submission to 3 minutes. I will try. One is that I rise to oppose this bill for a number of reasons. One is that the bill tries to address issues of affordable housing which cannot be gainsaid. But then, when you look at it, is it addressing the root cause of affordability and availability of housing? The answer is no. Basically, this bill, what it tries to do is to justify and give a legal backing to housing levy, and has totally nothing to do with issues of affordable and availability of housing. I thought, or I'd rather, that it would look at issues of land tenure system, it would look at issues of physical planning, regulations, and the likes. Because if it doesn't look at all that, then we are not addressing the real issue of issues of affordable housing. Which, again, when you look at 11,
When you look at clause 11, basically we are saying that these funds, the bigger problem is financing and nothing else. So the whole question is that the problem of housing will be solved by public financing through overtaxation of Kenyans, which I don't agree. I would wish that we would look as a government to look at other alternative methodologies of addressing issues of housing. Can we enable people to self-build their houses by providing the necessary infrastructure, providing sewer system, providing electricity, and making proper policies that will enable people to even build their own houses? Another element, should we overtax Kenyans to have these houses? Why can't we work in private, public-private partnership to enable the private partners to build up houses that then the government can help in subsidizing issues of land and other components to allow Kenyans to own such houses. Another element that needs to be addressed and is not clear is on the issues of land. This can be looked at as a scheme to grab high premium public land, because all this land is being transferred to private developers, will be owned privately. We do not have proper land banks as a country. When we want to do development for public good in future, where will we get this land? Where are the counties getting compensation for this land? So that issue must be adequately addressed before we pass, or rather, before we bring this bill to the table. Another component is on public participation. Who participated in that? The most paid person in all this exercise is the employee, and to some extent the private employers. What did they submit? Because these are the people who are paying this levy. If you go to the streets and take chokoras and other people in a hall and ask them if they want affordable housing, they'll say yes, because it doesn't pay them anywhere. They don't pay anything. It is the employee of this country who is struggling with overtaxation that we are going to levy them some more. Another component as we move is that the bill is trying to address issues of the court ruling on discrimination.
Honorable Baya, what is out of order?
Stand on a point of order on language, Honorable Speaker. You know, Honorable Mugabe has been elected by members, but today the same members, because he's opposing this bill, he's calling them chokoras. No. I am perturbed that he can actually stand in this house and call his electors, the people who he brought to this house, who brought him to this house, chokoras.
No.
I mean, I think you got it out of context. Not use words like Honorable Mugabe.
Honorable Baya, take a seat.
I think you've got it out of context.
Order. Did you use the word chokoras?
I withdraw the term chokora.
Proceed. Thank
you. But what I'm saying is
proceed.
If we take people who are not affected by this levy, how will their contribution be of value to this bill if we are not addressing people who are pained by paying for this levy? And when you look at it, they are trying to the bill just trying to address the issue of the ruling of the court that it is discriminatory. And when I look at clause 4. Out clause 4, they are trying clause 4(2)(b). It tries to address that issue, but there is no clear criteria on how they are going to levy the people who are not salaried, who are not employed. There is no clear criteria. And if they were, again, when you look at clause 6(b), it gives the cabinet secretary for treasury powers to exempt from applications of section 4. But it does not give a proper list or a proper criteria on how they will be exempted. What is likely to happen is that because it is imminent that they cannot tax, especially the informal sector, properly, the cabinet secretary can decide that I'm exempting that category and we'll go back to where we are right now. And these are some of the issues that we want to be addressed. Issues of eligibility. When you look at clause 30, it actually opened gates of corruption. Because it basically means anybody can apply for that, to be eligible for housing. And that would mean the people who have will get the houses, the have-nots will not get the houses. There is no clear criteria that will enable now the people who really need those houses to afford or rather to purchase those houses. I submit.
Bombadi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we actually agreed that I would take exactly 5 minutes. I want to leave to that.
You actually have less now.
Now it means I will just take all the time left. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, quickly, I want to say here on record that I actually participated and was part of the team that was working on the Azimio manifesto. And I've heard many of us talk about what we had provided in our manifesto. And this is the problem of stealing other people's ideas and implementing it wrongly. This is not what we intended or envisaged in our plan to provide affordable housing for this country. Actually, Kenya Kwanza is lacking in creativity, and I want to put it on record, Mr. Speaker, the following. Number one, if you look at this Article 43, the idea behind this article was not for the government of Kenya to provide houses to Kenyans. That was not the objective. Because if that was the objective, you start today by taxing Kenyans or levying fees on Kenyans to provide houses, yet this article talks about other things. One of them is that Kenyans should be free from hunger and to have adequate food for acceptable quality. The other one is to clean and safe water. Are you telling us that tomorrow, after this levy, we should expect another levy to provide food to Kenyans? And to get another levy to provide water, safe and clean to Kenyans? And to provide security, social security? That is not the way to do it. Mr. Speaker, this House must rise to the occasion and stop the government of Kenya from extorting employed Kenyans, because this is extortion. We are having a government that is turning itself to extortionist. You cannot force Kenyans to pay money to provide houses when they have not asked you that they need those houses. Mr. Speaker, you are telling us that these houses that will be provided even in the rural constituencies, that you are going to come to Ukwala, Mr. Speaker, in your constituency, and move Uganda people to reside in Ukwala. Who told this government that the people of Uganda want to go and stay in Ukwala? Who told them that my people in Super South, which I've represented for 15 years, wants to go and reside in Sindo, Magunga, or Nyandiwa? That is not what they want. Most of my constituents can live. They have houses. There are just a few who don't have houses, some widows, some people who are totally very poor. Where has this government conducted a survey to provide the number of Kenyans, those households which are lacking houses? Where is that data? What Kenyans need is housing, not homes, not houses. Who told you that when we come to Nairobi, we want houses in Nairobi? I just want where I stay. Housing is what Kenyans need. You go to Brazil, understand the way Brasilia was developed. Mr. Speaker, what the government needs to do is very simple. The cost of construction the cost of a home or a house, 40% of it is land. If you add to social amenities, it goes beyond 50%. What a responsible government would do is to have money, a rearrange budget of the government to provide money through our taxes, which we have already paid anyway. Remove corruption in government. Make money available. Get land. And once you have the land, make sure there are roads leading to that land. There is railway leading to that land. There is electricity and water. And then arrange with private developers and agree on a system where the private developers would come develop houses, and you agree and sign a contract that for a period of so number of years, they will be charging this amount of rent. Mr. Speaker, I want to put it on record as someone who is a professional in finance. I want to tell you this. Investment in housing, investment in real estate is not a productive way of investment. The payback period for investing in a house is usually not less than 35 years. That is without factoring time value of money. So therefore, you need not to, you know, you are shouting and you know, you don't have any knowledge of economics, Honorable Vaya. So can you keep quiet and I finish my contribution? I have only 1 minute. Stop shouting and I'm your teacher. Mr. Speaker, I am saying that the cost of investing, the payback period for real estate is 35 years and above. If you are forcing someone who is over 50 years to have a home, this person is not, you know, this kind of interruption.
Allow the Honorable.
This is not how I trained you. You are now Deputy Majority Leader, Mheshimiwa Owen Baya. Deputizing Kimani Chunga, please keep quiet when members are making their contribution. Take notes so that when the time comes, you respond. So, Mr. Speaker, because now there is no time, so I will have to continue next time. I don't want to finish my time now. I don't want to stop because my time, I still have 5 minutes now. Mr. Speaker, I want to say very clearly and categorically that look at this bill critically. You are simply taxing Kenyans. It is taxation. We have fines, we have fees, we have taxes, and we have levies. What the government of Kenya is doing is fining Kenyans who are employed at the rate of 1.5%. Why are you levying a fine on employees of this country? What have they done to the government of Kenya Kwanza that they should be fined 1.5% of their gross salary to provide houses which they don't need? If you want these Kenyans to be philanthropic, there is a way to enforce philanthropy. You cannot force philanthropy on people. You have to persuade people, take them to church, preach to them so that we get converted and we understand that now we have a social responsibility to take care of other Kenyans because the government of Kenya, which is taxing us, is eating the money that they are supposed to use to provide these services to the Kenyans. Now they want other Kenyans, the ordinary Kenyans, to contribute money to some fund and help other Kenyans get money. This is simply philanthropy is what you want. Mr. Speaker, I will continue.
Thank you so much, members. I think you've had a very robust debate on this matter this afternoon. Time now being 7:01 p.m. This, the Honorable Mbadi will have a balance of 4 minutes when this business is next time slotted for debate. Time